Well, greetings and salutations, everyone, and welcome back to today's second half. Before we get into tonight's second half, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support this channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe, click the like button, and please leave a comment. It really does help, and it does matter. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with tonight's second half. Shall we? Alright guys, so I am going to be talking to a subscriber who sent me a couple of photos from their CCTV cameras around their home. I am going to share one now in tonight's video, and then the rest and their story when I interview them. I'm going to touch bases with them again tonight, and maybe get the interview done tonight or over the weekend. But before we get into that, let's do a couple encounters. Tonight's first encounter. It was January 2017. I was living at home in northern Minnesota. My parents started being more strict on me as I was a recent high school graduate, and when I would come home, the door was usually locked. On nights like this, I would sleep in my truck. On this particular night, it was about -17, and I was a little worried about freezing after shutting the truck off, so I texted my friend Jay to see if he wanted to tag along. Jay and I took off driving around the night till about midnight. We decided to drive up to a base of a local mountain and park the truck for the night. I quickly nodded off, but awoke to Jay nudging my shoulder 20 minutes later, saying he felt like we were not alone and felt like we were being watched. I was too tired at first and told him we'd be all right, but he was persistent. I relented, so I drove towards town, and by now the time is close to 1 a.m. I found a turn off the highway after driving for about a mile and decided to park on a narrow trail that had been snowed in. I drove about halfway down the snowy trail before I decided the snow would be too deep. We then parked, shut the truck off, and closed our eyes. My eyes had been closed for 5 minutes, but now I had the feeling like we were being watched. Not sure if Jay had been asleep, I decided to open my eyes to check. But what I saw instead was horrifying. As I looked through the front windshield, I could see a giant humanoid prowling in the bush line about 50 feet from the parked truck. It was coming closer, and my eyes were stuck on it. It got closer, and now I could see it through the passenger window. It felt like it knew I was looking its way. As it was creeping up to the truck, I could tell Jay was watching by now, as he was also frozen in fear. The thing disappeared from view, creeping toward the rear of the vehicle on the passenger side. We're both still on our seats and hadn't said a word. I even stopped breathing a bit. Suddenly, the rear suspension began to lower as this creature began climbing onto the truck bed ever so slowly. I could see Jay watching it, but I was too terrified to look. The humanoid was over 8 feet tall. I was driving a Chevy Silverado, so the thing sat down like it was climbing into a bench seat. As it sat, it began to hunch over and then lower its head into the view through the back window. It had big, yellow, bloodshot eyes. Its skin was dark, almost black, a small mouth, and a small nose. It peered in, then Jay freaked out. It quickly jumped from the bed, leaving the truck shaking. For some reason, when it jumped off, my truck lights flashed 3 times. each flash brighter than the last. Jay was screaming, "Go, go, go!" I tried to start my truck, but it wouldn't turn over. I turned the key back and forth multiple times with no success. It eventually started. I never did figure out why the ignition failed. I hauled ass out of there about 100 yards down the trail until I realized I wouldn't be able to turn around in the snow. I stopped and shifted into reverse. When I looked back up, I noticed my spotlight was in the back seat, so I told Jay I was going to look for whatever jumped out of my truck. He was quite reluctant, but I didn't care. I had to see it again. I parked the truck and began scanning the bush line towards where we had seen it run. I caught a glimpse of it as I was scanning from left to right. At first, I only saw its lower half and passed it. Then Jay said, "Did you see that?" I slowly returned the light back to the creature and examined it from bottom to top. It was so horrible. The claws hung at the lower leg area, even with the creature standing erect. Its fingers seemed to be a foot long. It was skinny and looked malnourished and decrepit. I looked at the crotch, and it had nothing there. It was smooth. Its chest and abdomen looked elongated and very muscular, but skinny and long. I then brought the light to its face, and that's when my heart dropped. It was looking at my eyes, even with the spotlight to its face. It smiled from its small mouth, only to show a bigger mouth with sharp, crooked teeth. It then backed up while facing us and disappeared. Tonight's second encounter. This experience is not mine, but my friend's, and I will share it with you, how he shared it to me. It started around midnight, Saturday night, 2007. My friend was coming home from another one of our friends in Benzonia, Michigan. He was taking the back way to Traverse City. He said that while traveling on Cinder Road several miles outside of the town of Bendon, he saw a pair of eyes reflecting off his headlights ahead of him. Thinking it was probably a deer, he began to slow down. As he got closer, though, he said the object was much larger and much darker than a deer. He said by this time he had slowed to about 30 miles an hour and was about several hundred feet from this creature, and it still hadn't moved yet. As he approached closer, he said the only way he could describe the creature was being similar to a very large, dark wolf. However, he saw that this thing was not on 4 legs, but was standing upright, with its 2 back standing near a roadkill deer. He stated that this creature was a little over 6 feet tall, very dark fur. By now he was going slow enough to bring his truck to a stop in the road to look at this creature, which still had not moved, but was still staring at him. For the briefest of moments, he believed this thing was a giant stuffed animal put there as some sort of prank, due to the fact that he had never seen anything like this in his entire life. He was able to drive right up onto it, as close as he had, without it even moving an inch. But before he could finish that thought, the creature dropped to all 4s and sprinted across the road and disappeared into the woods on the other side of the highway. As he was frozen, sitting in his seat, wondering what the heck that was, he said to himself, whatever that was, it was real. As perplexed as he was that night over what he had seen, he was deathly afraid to go wandering into the woods to investigate any further. I asked him if it had made any sounds before it disappeared, and he said he didn't hear anything. I also asked if it could have been a bear. Absolutely not. He's hunted bear in regular hunts in the Upper Peninsula. He obviously knows what bears look like up close. So this is the picture, one of the pictures that the subscriber had sent me. He sent me 4 pictures. I'm going to share just this one until I do the interview with him. they've been having to deal with this for about 4 months now, and it is a long story apparently. So I'm going to give him a call after this video is over and line up an interview with him, and hopefully we can get to the bottom of it. He needs some help, and he's asking for help. He's asking for, I don't know. I hope that I'm able to help him, and or you guys are, with possibly some answers in the comment section. So let's see how this goes. Tonight's final experience. When I was 15 in 1973, we lived on an 80-acre farm in the Ozarks, northwest Arkansas. And back then it would have been considered rural, but in reality, it was only 15 or 20 minutes from town. We raised poultry for a local company that had a long chicken house. Beside the end and near the driveway was a yard light that had pegs on it. So when the bulb burned out, you could climb the pole and change the bulb. I was outside at around 7 p.m. feeding the Alaskan Husky, but unlike usual, he was not at the back door waiting. I heard him whining and followed the sound toward the edge of our house, where we had a shed and our root cellar. He was under the building, having dug out a spot, and would not come out when I called. That was when I smelled what I thought was a skunk. Figuring that he had had a run-in with the skunk, and that's what ran him under the shed, I stood up, and then I felt as if I was being watched. So I turned in a circle to see if there was a visible skunk. As I turned toward the chicken house, I saw a tall creature with long reddish hair all over its body. Its face was human-like and covered with a long beard and long head hair. I could see it clearly as it stood right under the light, which later my mom measured by the pegs I could see that night. This creature was 8 foot. I was frozen in shock. I knew what I was looking at, never a doubt, and it looked at me. I glanced back toward the house to see how far I was from the back door, and then back to it. It was holding something in its hand that was the nearest poultry house, and I noticed it was a dead chicken. The next day we saw where a screen on the poultry house had been pulled back. This creature and I stood facing each other for a few seconds, which felt like hours, and then it turned and gently walked about 10 feet to our road gate that enclosed our field and stepped over it. At 15, I was 4'11", and knew the top of that gate was at my eye level. After it crossed over, it took a few steps, then looked back at me, and then just kind of loped into the field till I couldn't see it anymore. But being a girl, that look back made me scream bloody murder. My mom came out with a shotgun, as we had seen a panther a few weeks before by our pond. She had placed the gun by the back door. After a few moments of jabbering nonsense, I was able to tell her what I had seen. That was when she said she had heard something scratching on the screen the night before. I was relieved to have been believed, but refused to feed the dog or go out after dark anymore. Later, we learned a neighbor whose property backed up to ours also saw this creature. After growing up, I often think back to that experience and what I had felt. I was shocked and confused about what I had seen. I think it may have just been just as shocked as me. But oddly, at that time, up until it turned and looked back at me, I never felt fear. I did not sense danger, and when it looked at me, I did not see any in its eyes, which to me were dark. But I have never forgotten the exact details to this day. I don't believe they are monkeys or gorillas. It was too human and had an intelligent look to it. And just like other animals, when their territory is encroached upon, they try and scare you off. I think people looking for them have less chance to see them. than those who just happen to cross their paths. All right, guys, like I said, I am looking forward to making this text or phone call. I've been emailing with them a couple times here and there. I've been dealing with some other stuff on the channel. DJ has some info that he shared with me last night. So I kind of dealt with this email last night and DJ. I wanted to call Steph last night and see how he was doing. Actually, I was supposed to, but I texted him this morning that I just got tied up with a couple things. I hope he's doing well. I didn't hear back from him. So, I don't know. With that, I hope you enjoyed tonight's upload. And may the Great Spirit watch over us all, and may He guide us down that path that we call life.